highest surge is happening right now, but further inland, we are feeling hurricane force winds.
All over the city. Very significant areas of New Orleans that did flood.
So much of my family, I didn't know where they were.
When Hurricane Katrina approached his hometown, Jamal Preston was only 8 years old. His family evacuated New Orleans for Shreveport, Louisiana. On TV, they watched the storm and the floods that followed.
And as we kept hearing the damage, we were just realizing that going home has just now not become an option.
Ward of this city, the 9th Ward.
Water surged through a breach in the levee and destroyed his neighborhood, the lower 9th Ward.
Appears to be up to its rooftops in water.
You were in 3rd grade at the time. Were you scared?
Scared isn't the word. Try scared times maybe 20. I was terrified. Everything that I knew, I mean, we packed up a few clothes, but like all my toys, all my games, all my memories were there. I had no idea where my dad was.
It was a dark time for the city. I mean, coming back and seeing that at such a young age, it was devastating.
Daniel Bro's family also lost nearly everything in flooding after Katrina.
We visited my old house where I used to stay before the storm and just seeing it almost completely vanish, like the place that I used to call home. It just almost was a sense of trauma to a young kid, but we got through it. So.
I remember coming home actually from school, and my mom and my dad were just packing things, and I'm just looking like, what's going on?
Aaron Lockley's mother, Angela, took her and her sister to St. Mary's Parish to wait out the storm.
And then when we moved, the rest of my family came, and we were like in one house with only 3 bedrooms with like maybe 20 people. And that was kind of crazy.
It would be 3 school years before they came back to live in New Orleans again. At the time, these young people were in elementary school. They were among thousands of families who were displaced and separated, having to find new schools, new friends. Jamal Preston moved to Dallas and entered an elementary school there.
I'm culture shock. I was always used to being kind of the majority in the classroom. And going to Dallas, sitting in the classroom and noticing that there's one child with the same skin as me and everyone else is white or Latino. And I'm just sitting there like, hey, this is new. In Dallas, I knew there were a lot more opportunities. There was a lot of classes and a lot of activities that weren't offered at my old schools.
My classrooms weren't really that large, and I was always on the level that I needed to be or either above, so I never was challenged or never had a hard time in class. And when we moved to New Orleans, I felt like things got a little bit worse.
When the Lockley children came back to New Orleans, they found a city that would never be the same, especially the schools. Of the 126 schools in the district, 110 suffered damage from Katrina. A large number were in terrible shape before the storm. Afterward, many were destroyed beyond repair. But the truth is, the school system before Katrina was already a disaster. The New Orleans Parish School Board oversaw some of the worst performing schools in the country. The system was notoriously corrupt.
Pretty general consensus that the school district was failing on almost every measure. So if you look at outcomes, the district was 67th out of 68 in the state, and the state itself was one of the lowest performing states in the country.
Although the teachers were here working extremely hard, we just couldn't crack the educational system to give our kids true opportunities in education.
The state moved in. It created a recovery school district to take over the worst of New Orleans' failing schools. After Katrina, the recovery district took control of nearly all of them.
The recovery school district, as well as the Orleans Parish School Board, opened schools as quickly as they could, and they were directly operating them at the time. Then eventually what happened over time was they started to move those schools under charter management organizations, and that's kind of where we are now, where almost all the schools are run by charter management organizations today.
Some called the move toward charter schools a bold initiative. Others said the recovery district was overstepping. State officials saw it as a chance to change the way business was being conducted and correct the previous flaws in the system.
You know the terminology, you can write an expression.
By having autonomous schools and no central authority determining curriculum and resource allocation, it became less of a school system, more like a system of schools.
After the storm, I started hearing the terminology of data. I started hearing the terminology of if you need this programming, you can actually purchase this program, because you now had the flexibility to say that based on these results, that kids were deficiencies in these different areas. So now I was able to focus not only directly on my kids, but also the needs within our school, not worrying about what the whole city needs.
This is my home, and I so wanted to come back to New Orleans.
For engaged parents like Angela Lockley, it also meant more choices. Students could apply to any school in the district, not just the one nearest their home.
I think having the opportunity to be able to choose a school that would best fit my children and their learning styles, to be able to mold maybe their educational experience that would best fit them. So having a choice as a parent is very, very important.
As Erin was entering 6th grade, Angela researched her options and spoke to school administrators.
After I did some research, I decided to visit a few charter schools here in New Orleans that had just established. And I remember going in to interview with the counselor. And I was almost in tears and taken by the interview, because I thought she wanted to look at Erin's transcript and look at her grades and talk about her areas of weakness. But that was so far from the beginning of our conversation. She wanted to know about Erin's mental state. How was she doing emotionally after the trauma of Katrina and having to move and relocate and having family pulled apart? How was Erin doing?
You're gonna do like the running man real quick. Running man. And this knee gonna go up and you whip.
Jamal Preston didn't want to leave his school and family in Dallas, but his mother insisted.
I cried.
Really?
I teared. It was brutal. I did not want to come back home.
Did you think about going back to a school that might not be as challenging or might not be as exciting for you?
Well, for me, the main thing that went through my mind about schools in New Orleans, because after the storm, it wasn't that it wouldn't be equal academically. It was more the fact that they're still in the rebuilding phase. You don't have that many people back. You're in kind of run-down buildings. They're still trying to repair the buildings while the students are still in there. Discipline and the caring.
As the city opened up other options, Jamal hit his stride at Dr. King Charter School in the neighborhood where he grew up.
Yeah, it's a small school. There's no teacher that's just like, oh, I don't want to be bothered with you guys. Like, everybody knows everybody.
Daniel Bro can't even remember the name of the first school he attended when his family returned a few months after Katrina, but the KIPP school he entered in 5th grade struck a chord.
You'll see there's a graph. We're going to pay attention to the bars towards your left.
KIPP was a very different situation from what I was used to in another public school. I mean, when I got to KIPP, it was a big focus on team and family. Like, it was family oriented, and everyone helped each other be successful.
Flip the page, please. This is why I'm wearing this ridiculous outfit. This is why I'm wearing this ridiculous outfit. We have a rival this year.
I grew up in the New Orleans public school system. I went to elementary, middle, and high school. Tremendous difference. I can actually go in and sit in his class. I know what he's learning. I can go on the computer and know what he's doing in school, know what he isn't doing.
Why, when you're good at math, you can do anything? Why do you think that is?
Know that he's staying on task. It's a big difference.
Do well in this class, be prepared to do whatever you want in college and beyond.
As part of a summer job before she heads to college in the fall, Erin Lockley works with some classmates to make inspirational posters for the halls of the elementary school. A school where her mother is now dean of students.
Right, you want to trace it with the marker so it like pops out.
Education was always something that my mama drilled in me. She was always like, this is how you're going to make it far and successful in life. You have to go to college. You have to make sure that you're focusing and paying attention in class. And not only was it my mom pushing me, but me pushing myself.
because everywhere Jamal went to school, I was there.
Both Aaron and Jamal's mothers became deeply involved in their children's education.
At one point, she was my kindergarten regular teacher. She was my parent-teacher liaison. She was my cafeteria lady. She was my janitor. And at one point, she was my assistant principal. So my mother has basically held every job you can possibly hold in my school besides being principal. So I had no leeway to do anything.
Not everything went smoothly as New Orleans rebuilt its schools. In fact, educators on nearly every side of the debate acknowledge some major speed bumps as the city went about restaffing schools and decentralizing standards. But these 3 students thrived in the new system. 10 years after the storm, they have graduated and are all heading off to college.
So it all comes down to how bad you want it.
And you want it pretty bad.
I want it
You're gonna
more
work
than
hard.
anything.
Daniel Bro was accepted at his dream school of LSU and will study mechanical engineering. He's also trying out for the football squad.
Sometimes it takes such a disaster like Katrina, I believe, to open people's eyes. I mean, if Katrina never happened, then I believe people would have looked at the system like as okay as the way it was before, and like this amount of change in schools like KIPP might have never came across if Katrina never happened to like change the school system.
All my math classes were done here now.
Jamal has won a scholarship to study at Grinnell College in Iowa.
Do you think you'd be sitting here, getting ready to go to Iowa, getting ready to go to college, if schools hadn't changed in New Orleans, if something hadn't been different after Katrina?
If things wouldn't have changed, our system just probably would have stayed as broken as it was. I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect now. By no stretch of the means am I saying it's perfect now. But I feel like we're a lot better off than where we were.
Aaron Lockley was salutatorian at Cohen College Prep High School and will attend Beloit College in Wisconsin.
Other than that, orientation starts August 18th.
That's exciting. I'm so proud of you.
A couple of days before my birthday.
I'm very proud of the young lady that she has evolved into.
Oh, what are you gonna do? Separation anxiety. I don't know if I'm ready.
My heart is breaking a little bit, but I understand that. I want her to go and experience the world and live life to its fullest.
Oh, what value?
Erin says she also wants to be a role model for her little brother Adam.
How do you feel about it now and thinking ahead, you know, to your little brother, what his school years are going to be like?
I always tell him, I'm like, Adam, you need to focus, you need to pay attention in class. School is everything. School is what's going to make you happy in life. It's what's going to make you successful.
Come on, jump. All right. Go, go, go. Your shoes ain't perfectly.
My mom and dad, they were incarcerated in the federal penitentiary when I was about 2 years old, when I was just a toddler. So then my grandparents raised me and my older sister.
It's just after 6 in the morning in New Orleans, and Jiron Isaac has a lot on his mind.
I was in about 3rd grade when Katrina hit. But after all the chaos settled down with the hurricane and stuff, we moved back to New Orleans, but then I was reunited with my mom.
While his mother fixes the hair of his younger twin sisters in the dining room area,
You can go and find some earrings.
Jiron is in his bedroom prepping his school uniform for a big event.
Everyone has a negative story. We all have to tell our story. We have to create a new one.
Today, he will tell his story as the main speaker at a celebration of all the city's public school seniors accepted to college, something that might not have seemed possible when Jiron was younger.
I failed my 7th grade year in school. I really wasn't focused. My mind just wasn't where it should have been, and I failed.
The story he'll tell today is how he turned from failure to success in a city whose school system has tried hard to do the same. If the number of students who go into higher learning is a measure of success for a school district, then there is plenty to shout about on this Friday morning in May.
Welcome to the second annual New Orleans Senior Shout-Out Day of 2015.
Much like cities do when their students sign to university sports teams, this senior shout-out event brings the mayor and other dignitaries to celebrate the number of students going off to college.
Today is a celebration that we can all be part of and proud of, and there is a reason why we are standing in Champion Square, because these young men and women behind us are champions already.
According to numbers given by the city, New Orleans seniors have been accepted at more than 300 colleges and universities. They've earned more than $75 million in scholarship money, $20 million more than last year.
Senior Shout Out is a wonderful reminder of why we do this work. We must continue.
Another theme of the shout out was a plea from a city still recovering from disaster, hoping these young people will return with fresh energy and skills.
I know that you guys are going to embark on a journey, but I need you to come back home when you're finished and help make this city the great place we can know it become. So look, thank y'all so much.
We're not only proud of you, but we are depending on each and every one of you.
My name is Raina Robinson, and I'm here representing the class of 2015 at Algiers Technology Academy.
Each high school sent a representative to read off student names and the schools they've been accepted to.
Good morning. My name is Jamal Preston, and I'm here representing the class of 2015 at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Charter School.
I think Senior Shout-Out was a great day. It was a hot event, but it was fun, that's for sure. Just an opportunity, you know, to really shout out people you care about, and really an opportunity to let everyone know your pride and where you're going in the school that you came from.
I am here with Jeremiah Roy, who will be attending Texas Southern University, and Sade Bibbins, who will be attending Dillard University.
10 years after the storm and a complete overhaul of the school system, officials here believe this day is proof that they are on the right track.
Whereas New Orleans now outperforms both the state and the nation in the percentage of black males graduating on time.
Before the Recovery School District took over most of the city schools, only about half of students in New Orleans graduated from high school on time. This year, it was 73%.
And that's a testimony to our hardworking educators, our students, our parents, our families, but we still have a ways to go to get to 100%. So while we celebrate the successes...
I don't think you can deny the progress. I mean, for years and years, and I see if we were saying 5 years of low statistics or 10 years of low performance or 15 years, I'm talking over 50 years where New Orleans' educational landscape was considered to be extremely low. We don't confuse progress with success. We understand that we have a long way to go. But if you look at our statistics, I think you can see that we are making progress. Now the question is, how do we get to where we want to be the next 10 years from now, when we're looking at 20 years after Katrina? But our students were in a abysmal system of education for many generations, and we did nothing.
Good morning. My name is Darren Isaac, and I'm a proud member of Cohen College Prep class of 2015.
Only a few years ago, Jaron Isaac didn't seem likely to be among the crowd today, let alone giving this speech.
Just a couple of years ago, I wasn't sure if I was going to pass the 10th grade. It's tough being a black male in this country. I was faced with many negative influences every day, and it was easy to get distracted.
I didn't even care. You know, I really didn't care about academics. I really had trouble seeing the big picture at that time. I almost failed my 10th grade year in school. I had to go to summer school. After that experience, I'm like, this isn't going to work. You have to do something.
But with the help of many people around me, especially my mom and dad, I will be headed up to Morehouse College in the fall.
Jaron's case is remarkable, right, and inspiring, and kind of that's what I think everybody hopes for the system. I think one thing they're definitely doing, though, is putting a very strong focus on going to college. That there are college banners hung up in the schools. They're sending a message constantly to students that they are college material, and they're, I think, more aggressively than traditional public schools, helping students take the steps to get ready for college.
I want to thank my teachers at Cohen College Prep for all their support. They live the New Orleans College Prep mission, prepping us for college and life, inside and outside the classroom.
Just wanting more for myself. I know a lot of kids, they choose not to be the best that they can be because they don't see a future for themselves.
Jiron was so determined that he wanted to get a jump on college. He was able to supplement his coursework at Cohen College Prep by taking college-level classes at Bard Early College, New Orleans.
I think he knew how far he needed to go to land himself at a serious undergraduate institution, and a rare kind of honesty about that. And the change that we saw in Jiron throughout his time here was, by the end of this time here, he knew that he could do it.
Let me give you the history.
I'm definitely glad that the school system in New Orleans has changed. I don't think I would be as motivated as I am today. I don't think I would have the same outlook on life as I do today.
I'm Erin Lockley, and I'm here representing Cohen College Prep, the class of 2015.
Jiron's classmate, Erin Lockley, also attended Bard's courses. It's something she doesn't think would have been possible without the changes in the city school system.
Do you feel like when it comes to schools and the opportunities that you've had, do you think a lot has changed since Hurricane Katrina?
Yes, I really do. I was able to attend an early college program. I was able to write an article for a newspaper. I was able to internship with a radio station. Those kind of opportunities are really cool, and I felt like if I would have maybe stayed at the schools that I went to before, these things wouldn't have happened. Next year, I will attend either Beloit College or Colby College.
It's going to be a difficult road ahead. It's going to take commitment, hard work, and dedication for all our dreams to come true.
Just me writing the speech, I really tried to put an authentic feel to it. I really tried to express how I felt to the teachers, to the students, and to the city of New Orleans.
I will carry the city of New Orleans with me everywhere I go, and I will represent my city well.
Steven.
Dana Wade grew up in the historic Broadmoor community of New Orleans and is now raising her 3 children here.
Goodbye, Dobby. Can you go put lotion on?
She moved back after Hurricane Katrina displaced her family in Texas.
It was about 32 of us in one home. I ended up having my older 2 kids in Texas. We stayed there for 3 years and we moved back to New Orleans in 2008.
Water levels in post-Katrina flooding engulfed the neighborhood, but the community fought to rebuild. And by the time Dana moved back, the city had just reopened the local school.
When we came back, I was in a rush to find a school, but this was a perfect location by me being 3 blocks away. And that's how my kids ended up at Wilson.
Wilson is the Andrew H. Wilson Charter School. This August morning marks the beginning of the first full week of the school year for Stephen Wade, grade 3, and his older sister Layla, who's in the 4th grade.
3rd graders and 4th graders in the cafeteria. Hey, doctor, what's wrong?
On the outside, the Wilson School building looks much like it did at the end of the last school year, but things inside are very different today.
Okay, young lady, you're on this side over here.
The difference is clear from the moment the students walk into the cafeteria for breakfast. There's a new structure to how the school runs.
You understand that you're following the directions of the person who's nearest to you? Yes. All right, very good.
The changes are happening because the school is under new management. After the school received a failing grade in its state performance review, a new charter management organization, or CMO, was chosen to take over. What happened with Andrew H. Wilson says a lot about where things stand with schools in New Orleans and where many believe they need to go next. Since 1922, the Andrew Wilson School has played a central role in this community.
It was named after the first juvenile court judge in the city of New Orleans, Andrew H. Wilson, who sentenced Louis Armstrong to the colored waif's house after he had fired off a .22. He learned to play his trumpet at the colored waif's house. So Broadmoor feels like it's very much attached to the culture of the city.
After it was damaged by the storm, it was rebuilt, adding a modern, new addition to the historic facade.
It was a piece of history that the community wanted to bring back, and it helped the community come back as well.
There is a sense of pride about this place. It has deep roots and meaning for parents like these.
Why did each of you choose here?
Everybody that I talked to had wonderful things to say about Wilson.
Was it the history of the school or what you had heard about it, that brought all of you?
She attended Wilson for her kindergarten year, and I felt that the teachers who were in the kindergarten classrooms were excellent. It was more of a loving, caring experience, and I was like, okay, this is the place to be.
So then there's a rough year. The school gets an F.
Yes.
What did you all think?
I was like, how is this possible? Like, really?
Really?
I mean, they're doing amazing work. This can't be true. It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
It was
Yeah,
unbelievable.
very unbelievable. Those of you who were here last year, how does that make you feel to know that we have an F as a school?
MIESHA Jackson felt the failing grade doubly hard. She teaches 6th grade math here, and her daughter Taylor is now in 2nd grade at the school.
As an educator, how do I fail? And I failed these kids. What do you mean I failed the kids? So it was really, really heartbreaking.
LaToya Douglas, whose daughter has special needs, says it was more than just the school that was a factor in its failure.
When are we going to look at the bigger picture? The teachers in the school and the staff could only do so much. When is the state going to come in and step in and help these schools?
In the 10 years since Hurricane Katrina, the Recovery School District has moved to an all-charter school system.
Give me 5.
Charter management organizations are given 5-year contracts. After 4 years, if they don't have a passing grade on standardized tests, the CMO loses the charter.
Within 5 years, we have to have at least a C-letter grade. I think it's a great virtue to have the process because every single day, the child's education is extremely important.
Sometimes, when a CMO loses a charter, the district decides to close the school. But the district chose to maintain the Andrew H. Wilson School and change the managing organization. The community that had worked hard to save it helped convince the district to keep it.
It was the works of that community that brought the school back. And also built the partnerships in making it a community school, and one of the I think leading community schools in the city of New Orleans.
What happened in Broadmoor also brings up some thorny issues that came up during school reform and rebuilding in New Orleans. The Recovery School District had to act quickly to overhaul the schools as the city began to rebuild. With a population that was less than half it was before the storm, there were fewer students in the system and fewer jobs for teachers. Those who returned had to reapply for their positions. When the teachers' union contract expired, the district did not renew it.
And what's independent? What does that mean? You on your what? And that's independent practice. And
A significant number of the city's public school teachers were African Americans and native New Orleanians. As charter schools began to hire outside talent to teach in their classrooms, it led to resentment in an already charged atmosphere.
When Katrina happened and afterwards, some of the decisions that were made and some of the focus that took place, it has created the, quote, system that we now have. And there are very positive things that have happened over these 10 years that you cannot deny. But what it is also done is it has created amongst certain sectors of that community a tremendous amount of animosity that worries me in terms of the ability of this to go forward.
Well, I mean, it's hard to feel like something wasn't done to you because that's what we lived. You know, we were told no. We were told no way. You know, you're not on the list, it's not gonna happen. And so every step of the way, we had to push and we had to fight.
After Katrina, it was already a wound, in terms of what happened to the low-income neighborhoods, what happened to the African-American middle class. Those are wounds. The way the school system was kind of taken away from the school board, again, elected by mostly African-American population, that's a wound. And now we're in a situation where we have to make a decision about where to go in the future with the system.
All right, one of the classrooms. That future will most likely mean more community involvement. The all-charter system gives parents greater choice over where their children go to school, and many have embraced that. But some here say that's where parental and community engagement ends. The Recovery School District has struggled to convince New Orleanians that they are part of the process.
A lot of people want to think that RSD just willingly let us in.
And it wasn't.
It was not. We fought.
We fought hard.
We fought hard.
When these parents heard there were meetings to determine who would take over the Wilson School, they demanded to be heard.
And I think what we haven't figured out is how do you have a system where the community feels engaged and some would say empowered in the way you would see in a traditional district, while simultaneously allowing the district to take these somewhat difficult steps.
The parents joined an advisory committee. They met with all of the applicants. It seemed to them that the recently renovated building was the main attraction for some CMOs.
Everyone came in and it was like, oh my God, the building is so nice. But Inspire was the only one who sat down, did not mention the building, and they started immediately saying how they can help our kids, how they can get this grade up, the academics that they can offer our kids.
Inspire NOLA won the contract. It's a homegrown charter management organization that has already turned around 2 schools with underprivileged populations in the city, Carr High School and Hart Elementary. It managed to bring Hart's grade up from a D to an A in just a few years. Carr is expected to earn an A this year.
So we'll actually be the only open admission charter management organization in New Orleans that's 98% African American, a very high percentage of free and reduced lunch that has 2A schools.
Former New Orleans public school teacher Jamar McNeely is Inspire NOLA's CEO.
We were able to pinpoint different skills that our kids needed, and we started really driving down those skills and made school cool and fun again, and it was a shift. We developed a system where we didn't focus and drill down on negative behaviors, but focus on the positive behaviors to make sure our kids understood that it was okay to do the right thing. Another thing that we really focused on is we started to increase the parental involvement.
And parental involvement helped Inspire NOLA get the charter at Andrew Wilson.
So now we're totally proactive in everything we do. We're excited about the new charter management coming in, but we're going to be on their heels and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do as far as the kids are concerned. And then after that, as far as, like Dana said, the community is concerned.
Jamar McNeely sees the change at Wilson as vital and necessary for New Orleans as a whole. Letting a school fail is not an option.
The school would have just remained, and those kids would have been in a failing system all their life. And that's some of the reasons why you look at when we have the high poverty rate that we have in our city, when you have the crime statistics that we have in our city, that's why a lot of those things are consistent, because our kids for generations and generations went to failing schools.
To inspire an educational movement for the next generation of scholars and leaders.
A recent study from the Education Research Alliance for New Orleans confirmed that performance at public schools in New Orleans greatly increased after the reforms. Enough, says one author of the study, to improve a typical student's performance by up to 15 percentage points, essentially going from an F to a C. As Inspire NOLA works on improving the grade at Wilson, district administrators hope to bring up the grade for the entire city in the next 10 years.
The results have come up a great deal, and I think right now New Orleans sits pretty close to the state average on a lot of measures, which is remarkable for a district with such high poverty rates. But I do think the leaders of the system now are grappling with, we got from an F to a C in terms of these school grades, how do we get from a C to an A?
10 years from now, in 2025, Dana Wade's daughter will likely complete her freshman year of college, and her son and LaToya Douglas's daughter will graduate from high school.
By your side.
Kids like these are what the story of New Orleans schools is about. What happens here at Andrew Wilson will have a deep impact on all of them.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
No one can be the voice for our kids but us. How can someone else speak for my child? You don't know my child, you don't know what my child has gone through, what they're currently going through, so you can't speak on behalf of my child.
As they led their children to their classrooms this morning, these parents liked what they saw. They felt they had helped make the right choice for the Andrew H. Wilson School. And they say their participation can be a model for New Orleans going forward.
All parents need to see and realize the fight that they need to put up for their kids.
Exactly. Total involvement, school, community, and parents. Maybe for the next 10 years, we can go forward, bringing structured discipline, a new culture into education, working with parents, working with the community, just to make things better for our children going forward.
It will be a big issue, from an equity standpoint, whether we can come up with a process that allows for academic success, that facilitates academic success, but still leaves the community engaged and feeling like they're part of it.
First pact pledge. I will make myself better today than I was yesterday.
No longer can we be okay with our kids going to a felon school for 5 to 7 to 10 years because we understand what it's doing to the next generation that we're actually educating.
I will do my best to be my best. Have a great day, Wolfpack.